Yo, I'm so ghetto. I forgot about the music. Give me a minute here while I get my life together. These evenings be rough, y'all, because I'll be doing a bunch of stuff. And I'll just be like running in here like, oh shoot, I forgot. I got to do the show. So I'll be a mess. All right, let me get some invites done. How y'all doing? Get some invites.
I never told you this walk was
enjoy the tunes while I do these invites. If you are an old hat and you watch this on the rebroadcast, I want to remind you that you can go ahead and skip up to about 15 minutes in when we actually start the reading. We're going to take 5 minutes and do some invites, and then we will, I'll give my little disclaimer talk so we clear the room. So you guys got about 15 minutes of talk that you've already heard enough times that you don't necessarily need to hear it again. If you can go ahead and fast forward through. So if you want to, while I am doing the invites, you can grab your text. We're reading from the Black Roots Science, Volume 1. If you haven't acquired it, you can go to thegreatinvestigation.com and you can purchase a copy or download it for free. If you're able to purchase a copy, I ask you to please do so in order to support the work of those who made these beautiful texts available to us. They've got some really cool projects, to my understanding, that, little bread helps things go faster. I can't say money makes the world go round, but it definitely makes the world go faster. Uh-oh, we might have a problem here. All right, let me see. Hopefully that wasn't too weird. I had the Bluetooth going. I don't know if you guys can even hear me for all of that, but thankfully, none of it was super important because that's just the intro. Just reminding you where you can get the text that we'll be reading from tonight. That is the Black Roots Science, available at thegreatinvestigation.com. So we're going to do a couple of minutes of invites here. It's happening now. The shit is going down. Now you acting all surprised because you fell for all the lies. They pulled the wool over your eyes. Now it's on you. I just lost my place with my invites, and now it's acting like it's all the way back to the top of the invite screen. Oh, there we go. Here we are.
Hated, abused, misunderstood and used. Yeah, I promised you a fight. You said the devils hate your light, said they coming for your light, so you better learn to fight.
One more minute of invites before we get down to business.
What wasn't clear about
so
that?
I'm just going to cruise on through here.
Ready to turn back.
I should probably try something like every third person invite or something, because chances are probably inviting the exact same people every single night, because it takes 5 minutes to get through the list, right? So it probably doesn't change the list up. I don't know. I haven't really noticed. But like some way to switch it up so that you're getting, at least making different people aware. Oh boy, it's 9:05. All right, let's get out of here. Let's get out of the invite screen. One more swipe and then bop, bop, bop. All right. And we're going to turn this down, fade it out. And there we go. What's up, guys? It's your girl, Jedi. Good evening. Welcome. I'm Jedi, Empress Jedi, the Rebel Rouser. And you, my dears, have tuned in to the Nightcap. This is, see if we can get this together here. This is a Black Enlightainment production here at Black Enlightainment. Boys and girls, we are broadcasting consciousness. Trying to get that third eye wide open. Now, before we get started, first of all, I thank you for joining, whether you are watching live or going to watch this on the rebroadcast later, or as I say, catch it on the backside. Either way, I'm very grateful that you have tuned in. And is that Brother Tevin? Do I see Brother Tevin? Are you going to read to us tonight? That would be stupendous. Before we get to that, let's do our disclaimer. Those of you who have frequented the show know that I spend a few minutes, a good 10 minutes, bless up, brother, a few minutes giving the disclaimer so that we can clear the room of anyone who doesn't belong here. Not that we're stuck up, but we don't want to traumatize anybody, cause anybody any kind of emotional damage or spiritual trauma or any feelings that they've been in a spooky room and they're defiled and all of that. Like, we ain't trying to do that. So let's just clear the room here with some of the foundational stuff that we have already covered in these classes, that the folks that keep coming back, we have already kind of wrestled with that and come to whatever piece we've come to. First of all, we are not anti-Christ nor anti-Bible. However, we're actually pretty pro-Christ. We're like ultra-Christ, right? Brother, what's up? Love, sending love to Belize. It's beautiful to see you in the room this evening. So I'm just giving our little disclaimer before we get to our reading from the Black Root Science. It is available I should give you that so you can grab it if you guys want to while I do the disclaimer. Go to thegreatinvestigation.com and you can either download for free or purchase copies of the Black Root Science volumes 1 and 2, as well as the Holy Megalith, which is what we study in the mornings at 9 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. And then there is, I think it's called the 12 Secret Seers, which is also available there. If you're able to purchase. If not, download them free. There's a reason they made them free for download, is because they would rather you read it for free than not read it because you don't have whatever price it is to purchase and ship them. So in regards to Christ and the Bible and God, we are ultra Christ. We love us some Yeshua around here. He is the whole entire big brother JC. Okay. So actually I don't call him JC because that's kind of a defiled name, but that's beside the point. The fact is, Yeshua said, know ye not that you are gods. And so that is a truth that we rest in, as they say, flat-footed, okay? We stand on that truth unshakably, which causes us to take a completely different look at who and what Christ was, as well as the Bible. So our examination of Christ, we have learned that Christ came to bring the Hebrews back to the original teaching, which was Moses' teaching. At the time Christ came, the Hebrews were following the Aaronic teaching. Aaron the priest, right? The high priest. Okay. So they were following Aaron's teaching, not Moses' teaching. That's why Yeshua said, I came to bring you back. Y'all done got lost. It wasn't that they weren't practicing the law good enough. It was that they were climbing the wrong tree, as we learned earlier today in our study of the Holy Megalith. When you enter into a train of thought and school of knowledge that is not the true truth, you're climbing the wrong tree. So they were climbing the wrong tree. They weren't following the truth, right? They were following Aaron's version, kind of, sort of the truth that was more comfortable and more worldly, which is the same thing that we have with so-called Christianity. The reason that they say that nobody knows where Yeshua was for 33 years is because they don't want you to know where he was and what he was doing. And where he was and what he was doing was well documented all over the world. He was running around being a whole entire indigenous African, okay? Point blank and period. He was into all the stuff that they have told us is witchcraft and demonic and bad. Everything from communing with ancestors to performing miracles and what some would call spells and magic and, plant medicine and all this stuff. He was talking to nature and nature was talking to him. I mean, it was going down. One of the most common problems, like the biggest problem that the world had then and still has today with Yeshua and what he was really working with, was the very gender balanced approach to spirituality and life. And you guys see traces of it in the Bible. You see Peter and them kind of like, well, you always hugging up on Mary, right? Well, Miriam is Christ's eternal consort. They are soulmates. They have been consorting since the beginning of time. And when they were upon the earth together, they consorted and just loved up on one another. And they were such a dynamic ministry duo team that if you were to attend one of their retreats and go and be with them for the weekend, they literally would trade off who would teach. Like if she would teach in the morning, then he would teach in the afternoon, then she would teach in the evening, then he would teach the next morning, then she would teach in the afternoon, and he would teach in the evening. Like it was that balanced, guys. There was no gender hierarchy either way within their relationship or their ministry or the doctrine that they brought forth. And for those of you that have been studying the Holy Megalith with us in the mornings, we are right now in the thick of why that is true, because Jah being masculine and feminine, everlasting energy takes two parts, right? There's a masculine side and a feminine side, much like the yin yang, that moving circular dance with the masculine and the feminine, with a little bit of the feminine and the masculine, a little bit of the masculine and the feminine, that creates the perfect balanced circular dance. Okay, so the masculine side being cognitive reasoning, and the feminine side being intuition, or some could say the heart and the mind, right? Being the masculine and the feminine aspect of divinity. Without that balance of masculine and femininity, no creation could possibly come forth. And so therefore, this is what Christ taught. Christ was a very devout Buddhist. Little do people know. He was an official spokesperson and high priest in the Buddhist, the original Buddhist spirituality, which at this point is, perverted. All of the original religions are perverted. But we do know that the people that hold closest to the longest standing ancestral teachings are the closest to the truth. Because at the end of the day, when you look far enough back in time, there's two things you're going to find out: that everybody was black, okay, and that everybody had the same ideas about life. Like it just wasn't a question. You knew that you were a part of nature. You knew that we were the creators of everything that is in cooperation and in conjunction with all else that is. Like the Garifuna say, what is it, Brother Palacio? Is it Abu Amurunu, right? I am because you are. Like that was just like, how many different indigenous people do you have to talk to that have something like that they say, right? It just is without saying. We know that the Bible was a propaganda piece, that it took all of these ancient, beautiful truths and sewed them together. Like, yes, Ubuntu, correct, Brother Tevin. The Bible took everybody's deep, beautiful spiritual stuff and stitched it together like Frankenstein. And it is so far from what the people of the Bible believed, that they preferred men, women, and children alike to be tortured to death before accepting that Bible represented anything like their spirituality, their God, their culture, their society. They were like, yeah, that ain't it. So we don't hate the Bible. We know that there is profound truth in it. We know that you could study the Bible and you could years and never uncover all of the truth in it. But that is true for anything written. And we do know that Yeshua even said all scripture. That means if it's written down and you read it, you can find truth in it one way or another. Okay. And so we recognize that the Bible being one of the tools, although it's a propaganda piece, it is something that we do know one can learn truth and, paths to certain levels of ascension. But with its heavily unbalanced male domination, it doesn't lead to like super high levels of ascension, which is why it's been the tool that's used to create the most destruction upon the planet, as opposed to the most good, right? Because if everybody was running around doing what Yeshua was doing, which was what he told us we could do, there is no way in the world would be in the state that it's in now. You just couldn't possibly have poverty if even half of us were running around and turning 5 fish and a couple loaves into enough to feed thousands of people. You just couldn't. How could you starve people? Like, we have unlimited, like, give me a fish. We're all eating tonight. The whole town, right? So there's the disclaimer. With that, we are going to go into the scriptures, and we are reading the Black Root Science, Volume 1, if it will open up for me. And Brother Tevin, are you able to read for us tonight? Or no? I mean, I'm not saying you have to just because you're here, but I'm not like a bully or anything, but I, of course, am inviting you to if you would like to. Please, in your text, go to page 95. Your PDF is going to call it 95. The text itself is going to call it page 93. Okay, so we are going to give me a moment so I can get down there. And I'm so proud of us, guys. We're really working through this stuff, and it's just so rich and delicious, but we are moving through it quite expeditiously, I would say. So that's pretty awesome. Hallelujah. Before we go into the text, we just pray that the spirit of truth and truth alone will rest on us, that no spirit of deception or defilement or distortion should have its way, that we will absorb the truth to our nourishment and our, remembrance, that we might come into oneness, one with another, and all that is created for the purpose of bringing us back to one, which is the God state. Know you not that you are gods. So I salute you, gods and goddesses. And we are scrolling, and we're almost there. What did I say? Page 93. Okay, we're getting there. Choo, 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 choo. 82. Golly, guys, like, really? 2 whole minutes just to get to the page? Oh, that's because I did it the wrong way. I don't usually do it this way. I usually scroll on the little side and then make it big once I get to the page. That's why it's taking me all long, because I'm not doing it right. Okay, blow that up. Still, it's weird, though. Why is my page being... There we go. All right, Brother Tevin, you're going to read for us? Yay! I'm trying. Accept. Add. Okay, it says we're adding. I don't know what it's doing. Oh, here. No. Okay, we're not. Some Guys, this is such a treat. Brother Tevin is going to read for us, adding his masculine voice to the teaching. It creates balance here in the class, and we are grateful for you, Brother Tevin. Salute to you, God.
I'm grateful to be here.
And we are on page, like I said, the PDF calls it page 95. The text itself calls it page 93. And we are on note 24. You are welcome to back up to any part of note 23 just to get an idea of what he last said or not.
So you said note 24. Okay, it's 93 for me as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's get it going.
All right. Go for it, brother.
Sisters, man-made disasters are nothing compared to this. I'm gonna start at 24.
Okay, yeah.
What's your take on the tidal waves that have recently hit the area around Southern Asia, areas filled with Black people? I remember hearing a tape by Dr. Delbert Blair where he alluded to such weather occurrences being man-made, specifically created to assist in wiping out Black people. What say you? My thought, this is this is a continuation of the question or the statement. My thought exactly after reading about the incident, I thought the same thing. I believe that white YT possesses the power, with the help of technology that is, to manipulate the weather and cause the earth to tremble. I knew this ever since I was a child. I remember that every time they tried to go up in space, there was a tremendous change in the weather. It would rain for days, and I would think to myself that they were interfering with Mother Nature. I do believe that this was man-made to help wipe out the black race. I am not an expert on this matter, but I do believe in my heart that they do have a hand in any and everything that is the opposite of life and anything that is good. This is just my opinion. Peace. Sisters, man-made disasters are nothing compared to this. This was definitely a natural disaster. The earthquake bodily moved an entire island a few dozen feet and had the power of over 2,000 nuclear bombs. It made a crack in the earth the length of California. These large-scale natural catastrophes began last year with the Iran earthquake. They're going to continue and increase in size and devastation. To that will be added an endless war that is going to be joined by many other nations, begun by the invasion of Iraq. And and to that, worldwide pestilences in the next 6 years are going to see a drastic reduction in world population, never before seen in all of history. Next question. I always like to
Sorry, I was just welcoming Brother Glenn to the room.
Oh, peace,
Sorry.
peace. Most definitely. I always like to discover the why of occurrences. Black Roots. When I saw the clippings of many of the victims' surviving family members, I saw many black faces, unless I was wrong, if I'm not mistaken in my identification. What do you suppose the reason would be for destroying part of the 1,000,000,008,000,000? What are the implications for the remainder of us? Thanks again for the continued and in darkening education. Peace. An extenuation of the question. There was another diet related question I meant to ask you. I hope I didn't forget or overlook any previous information you may have shared on the topic, but I'll inquire again. What's your take on the eating according to your blood type theory that is currently on the natural health scene? Is there any validity to this, or is it just another European fad? Answers. Although the 100+ thousand dead from the tsunami is tragic, it's nonetheless a minuscule number compared to the millions who die daily on Earth, many of whom are black. I have not yet posted anything to clarify what I meant by the secondary requirement for the ending of this cycle, i.e., the incarnation of the 1,000,000,008,000,000. I'll explain briefly what it means and hopefully go into more detail later. First, it does not mean that once all the gods are incarnated on Earth, black people are never going to die again. That's impossible given the bodies we live in at present. It will be so only after all black people have original long-lived bodies, when we will live continuously for 7,000 years. What it means is this: all the B8M gods have agreed to join in Yakub's project and take part in this world of sin and death. This was not the case at the beginning. 6,000 years ago, when Yakub started his project of making the light races, there was only 60,000 volunteers willing to carry it through, not counting the leaders. The leaders were neutral, knowing already that it was inevitable, preordained, so the rest of the population, amounting to 1,007,795,000 people, opposed his project. They wanted nothing to do with it. Yakub went to a secluded island to carry it through. But since that time, all the gods, the entire black population, have agreed to join in the project and take part in it. Some things that are not easy to understand and accept while we are living on Earth become easy after ascension, when both hindsight and foresight are crystal clear. That's big. We talking about the whole creation of everybody else.
You know that I actually remember what he just talked about, and that's big because it just confirms in me that I am remembering. I remember, and I'm just going to tell this memory, and I've told it to people since it happened to me in Belize. So I had this vision, and I was a priestess of Ma'at, and I was with the high priestess and priests of Ma'at. It was men and women. We were all white. We're walking through this like typical Egyptian type style with the big giant columns and thing. And we're coming from a teaching session, right? So there's a group of maybe like 8, 9 of us. And the way to walk is the highest initiates walk in the center. And then depending on your level of initiation, how close to them you walk, right? So you kind of walk in a circle. And so I was close. I was one person away from the high level initiate. So I wasn't like, super high or super low. And so we're walking, and then these 2 people come running over and like interrupt our walk, which is not like, that's just not what you do. You don't just like run up on people like that, right? So they like kind of ran over and interrupted our walk and whispered something into one of the elders' ear. And then the elder whispered it to the other elder's ear, and they said, they've done it, right? And we were like, they've done what? They've done what? And they were like, we'll tell you in a minute, right? Listen what had happened. What had happened, then the next thing that I remember was being a part of this, like a council, like a big room where like people were sitting discussing this, right? Kind of like a Senate or something like that, right? Big, big thinkers. And here's what had happened. In South America, I remember it to be in South America. What had happened was there had been a planetary discussion of whether or not this should take place, whether or not gene splicing should take place. And most of the people felt like just because you can doesn't mean you should. But some people, scientists, really brainiacs, felt like because we can, we should, because we should explore everything we can do. And so it hadn't been decided by the high councils, right? And this is all the councils from the world, kind of like the UN, right? Like everybody was discussing this. And it hadn't been decided yet. It was still under discussion. But what they did was, because the masses of people kind of didn't even really feel like you could do it, was kind of like, wait, is that even, like, can you do that? Like, wait, what? So what they did was they were down somewhere in South America, somewhere. Like, I see it down that way. And what they did was they created a series of hybrid beings, right? All kinds of little monsters, if you will, right? Where they had genetics. And they revealed them in this big, like kind of like a circus sideshow thing. And they thought that it was going to go over really well, that they were going to be like promoted as these brilliant scientists. Look what they had done. But it freaked most of the people out. It scared the shit out of most of the people. People were like, it's horrible, it's an abomination. So the next thing I remember, so that was, this council was discussing it. And then here's what was decided. Because the people who had done it were of royal class, whatever that means. I don't know. Maybe he'll teach me, fill in these blanks for me. But royals can never shed the blood of other royals. And so they could not sentence them to death, these people who had actually done this. And so they sentenced them to be banished. And they sent them into the cold regions. And they basically, like kind of how we have the ice wall around Antarctica and stuff like that. It was kind of like that. It was like you're banished to the outer cold regions. If you survive, you survive. If you don't, you don't. It's not a problem. And that was what I remember of it. And then I have this idea or memory that it took 6,000 years before they emerged from that, before the white race emerged from that. I remember it. Like, when I say I remember it, like, I could tell you who my second grade teacher was.
Right.
It was yeah, I remember. So that's deep that he said that it was like the people wasn't really with it at first, because I'm like, yeah, I know. I was there. They wasn't with it.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Go ahead.
No, that's legit. That's legit. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. So then it was predicated that as soon as all the gods have incarnated in this 6,000 year period, that will bring the cycle to an end. That's the reason why the black population has to steadily increase over 6,000 years to reach the maximum of 1,008,000,000. To take part in Yakub's project, the gods only have to live on Earth at one time or another, but not continuously. They, or we, live and die frequently because that's the normal rhythm of our short-lived bodies. We don't even have to live a full life on Earth to experience evil. That's too true. A childhood a child who dies after 4 or 5 years has experienced enough of this world to know what evil is. Because this world of white people is absolutely unlike our ancient world. It is opposite and contrary in every imaginable way. So we will continue to be born and to die until the end, when we regain our ancient original bodies. And yes, the eat according to blood type thing is a scam. Probably an opportunity to sell another diet or nutrition book. The only way to stay healthy is to lead. Oh, this is big. The only way to stay healthy is to eat less often. No one can be unhealthy from eating once a day.
Did you hear that?
I'll read it again.
Yeah.
And yes, the eat according to the blood type thing is a scam. Probably an opportunity to sell another diet or nutrition book. The only way to stay healthy is to eat less often. No one can be unhealthy from eating once a day. Okay. Next question. I'm not sure that all the 1,008,000,000 have decided to assist in the Yakubian destruction of the black race. My question to you, are those who continue to choose not to participate in self-destruction doomed along with the others? I apologize if I keep re-asking questions, but it is important to gather as much information as I can. Thank you. You're incorrect to call Yakub's work the destruction of black people. Black people cannot be destroyed. God cannot destroy himself, let alone be destroyed by the puff of smoke called the white people. So your question is whether you are doomed to perish with those who choose self-destruction is based on a wrong premise. There is no self-destruction, so there is no black person doomed to it. Your question begs as much a larger issue. Your question begs a much larger issue, i.e., the whole question of evil. The fact of your living presence here on earth is proof that you consented to participate in Yakub's world. If you hadn't, you would not have incarnated in this 6,000-year period. This holds true for all black people. Don't ever be deceived by the teachings of the ignorant who say that the appearance of black people on earth is a matter of chance, accident of birth, or other terms they coin. The incarnation of every black person on earth is intentional and is never a mistake. Man, man, that's something I probably needed to hear today. The incarnation of every black person on earth is intentional and never a mistake.
Yeah.
This whole question of why God does some things that seem contrary to logic has been debated for millennia, but all the speculations that so-called philosophers and religionists have put forth are based on ignorance, so they cannot reveal the true answer. The answer to this age-long question is simple, and I'll address it in the next few days when I start a discussion of Yakub. Okay. Next question. Uh-oh. Hold on, I did the thing. All right.
Well, Rick,
I'm
Rick, take one of these notes and just kick it for like an hour. Just
yeah,
crazy.
yeah. No, that's big facts, as they say. I'm sure that's going to be an interesting story because everything I've heard of the Yakubian legend says, for some reason or another, he was out to destroy us. It'll be interesting to find out why we would want to arrive on this plane to participate in Yakub's world and why a smaller number of us would arrive here and then not want to be a part. I mean, how would you explain the existence of an individual such as yourself? You exist during Yakub's age, but what you present of yourself doesn't reveal a Yakubian essence or spirit. Okay, I sincerely appreciate you. I mean that, but I don't have a problem in admitting I'm a bit confused with a few things. Thanks for your patience, and I'll be waiting for the next installment. Peace. Response. I'm postponing the promised discussion until a later time in order to cover some other topics first. Everything in its time, as the saying goes. Okay, I'll be waiting. Meanwhile, give me your take on the Mamiwata. On the Mamiwata. What's the history with the particular Vodun image? Peace. Part 1 of Vodun/religions. The religion of Vodun, with all its symbols and gods and goddesses, as well as with all other African religions, are creations of the past 6,000 years. This is big. They did not exist before then. They all came about as a consequence of the teachings of Yakub. Notice how many of your questions relate directly or indirectly to Yakub. Even when you apparently intend to ask a related question, the reason is because this is really Yakub's world, and just about everything in it results directly or indirectly from some part of his teachings. I'll answer your question by relating briefly how modern African religions arose as a result of his work, but I'll leave the larger question of Yakub until later. Briefly speaking, Yakub, after he made the light races, was compelled to teach them how to live. Civilization is always taught. It can never evolve naturally. As modern sociologists and the like would have us believe, it is not the same realm of natural events as eating, sleeping, or procreating. In fact, without civilization, human beings naturally decline. Yakub Yakub was a great scientist, knowledgeable in the entire circle of wisdom. Knowledge is called a circle because it starts at the starting point and goes around until it ends at the same point, but higher and larger, if you will. Imagine a coil or a snake coiled on itself with its head resting on its tail. The head and tail are at the same point on the circle, but the head is at a higher elevation. So it is too that the universe will end at the same point it began, which is divine unity, but at a higher level of wisdom due to the experience gained. That, in brief, is the true definition of wisdom, and in our language, it's called a serpent due to the metaphor I just mentioned. Yakub took the circle of serpent of wisdom. Okay, Yakub took the circle or serpent of wisdom and condensed it into 6 major parts of knowledge. He left out the 7th part, divine unity, because it cannot be taught but only experienced. He further divided each of the 6 parts into 60 parts, each one corresponding to 1 year of an individual's life. In his original plan of making the light races, their normal lifespan was to be 60 years, and in fact, this is the average worldwide. The 60 parts of knowledge correspond to or sum up with what each year of an individual life brings, or is supposed to bring. In terms of experience, life is supposed to be lived such that when a person reaches a certain age, he or she has gained in experience the equivalent of that amount of knowledge corresponding to that section of the 60 parts. For example, when a boy or girl reaches puberty, he or she is supposed to have learned all that could be taught about sex and its 2 purposes, but this is no longer the case today. The same holds true for almost every avenue of civilized life, including such basic things as how to cook properly or clean house or grow fruits and vegetables. How many youths can do these things today? Or if not actually do them, know them theoretically. So the circle of knowledge was reduced by Yakub into 360 parts, 6 times 60. The 360 parts or degrees of knowledge were not taught to the light races, but only to black people. All this applies to the past 6,000 years period. Before then, the division of knowledge was as follows. Okay. That's a big section. That was
Right, I'm over here. I can't write notes fast enough.
that's big right there. So one, I think like was just to kind of touch back, they talked about religions. And, you know, we even, it's a whole debate or fallout or, you know, what's the timeline of religion, Christianity, Islam. They all go back to Africa. You know, it's so much, you know, Africans had the origins first. It was Isis, Osiris, you know, Horus, Jesus, Yeshua, you know, like it all break, it is so much. But when we look at like the beginning, like the one truth, the whole truth, all of the religions, all of the deities, whatever the name may be, it's all a story. It's all a story, all a tale, all a version of what the original was. It was on purpose. It wasn't, you know, I've listened to a few of the what is Orishas, you know, just a few of like the different learning about Egyptian gods, and like some of them stories is like, what? Sisters did this to brothers, and babies got people dumb. Like, honestly, like that can't be right either. You know, that can't be the whole truth either. That's outlandish. Birds turning into men and men into birds, and something is like something's missing. And then even learning, you know, when we read about scarification the last time, you know, these elongated, whatever the case may be, whatever it is, you know, we look at that here in America, and it's like, oh, that's, even if it's 2,000 years old, we look at that like, wow, that must be the truth. It's like, that's not even the whole truth either. And then really learning, getting the broader perspective, how hard it is for traditions in Africa, especially to stop. Once it's tradition, it's the law. You know, my father's father did it, so it ain't no way I'm not going to enforce my grandchildren to do it. This ain't dying, you know. And it's even one slight mistake. You do the telephone game, you know, you sit 10 people in a circle, tell the first one something in their ear. By the time they get back, it's a little bit different of a story. You know what I mean? And like that is what we experience, and it being over here, we got the baby language. You know, we are in YT's world, like for real. You know what I mean? By being here, it's so diluted, you know, so mixed, not even just diluted with water. You know what I mean? You took a man,
One of the
I polluted and diluted. You know what I mean? You took water and added dirt and oil and grime, and you can't even see the water in there no more. You know it's liquid. That's all we got. It is liquid, but
you can
it's so much
put
sludge. I wouldn't. I'd rather not.
one of the cool things that he touched on a few chapters back, a few nights ago, whatever, was the concept, and you might even have been here. Remember when he talked about the whole out of Africa theory is backwards, because that only pertains to this age. But at the beginning of the age, we were global, and then we were chased into Africa, and then back out of Africa, right? And so, like, we have to, like, understand that the story is much longer than we
Yeah,
can fathom. You know,
yeah.
like, we can't even come close to understanding when things like the Sphinx were created, right?
Mhm.
Like, that wasn't no 10,000, 15,000. That was like billions of years ago. The man is talking about this stuff was done billions of years ago. We can't even understand the level of consciousness it
Mhm.
took to be able to I mean, they're looking at computers, they're looking at these things under computers, and the accuracy of them in terms of like symmetry like they're like, this takes computers to do this. How did they do? Well, we can't fathom the time that has transpired since this world was created, and how many different incarnations and ages it has been through. You know, it's just unthinkable. We can't grasp it in the natural mind. We have to enter back into our God mind to even be able to pick up any of it. You know what I'm saying?
It's in it. we probably could in our natural mind, but like everything is fed to us. You know what I mean? So our mind don't even naturally. We have an idea.
Even our
We
natural,
have
right?
we have an idea and we throw it away immediately. Oh no, that's crazy. That's the truth. And he'll say in here, he said that you get the truth first. You ask the question, man, how should I do this? Or what's the weather gonna be tomorrow? You ask the question and you get the answer. You the instinct, the sub whatever, you get the answer. You are the source. You have the answer. But it's like, and then they say, when we have that self-talk that goes on, "No, no, 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 no," it's because we're not accepting the answer. We already know
Right.
it, but then yeah, but it may be,
Yes.
all of that. That's us debating with the truth. Or, yeah, I mean, debating. I don't know who we debating with because the truth is still the truth. It ain't no debate. And we typically find that out sometimes shortly after. Sometimes it take a while, and it's like, man, I knew I should have did that. You knew you should have did that. You know. And then I was gonna say just one more thing, and then we can keep going. But just how you spoke on that out of Africa, like versus going into Africa, like we get hung up in the West, you know, on not wanting to be African, right? Because we're civilized over here and they're uncivilized over there, so we're not thin, we're different. Even looking at the whole transatlantic ordeal, no, we're not thin. We didn't even just that disassociation, and it's like, cool, don't be African, cool. No problem, you know what I'm saying? But like what's undeniable is that you black people, like we stuck on that name and like coming out of there and having the lens of the world. Could Africans have come to America and left black people here? Did somebody from Africa travel? Maybe it didn't happen. It did, you know what I mean? But whether it did or it didn't, if they traveled out of Africa, it's like you started here, and then it's deep. It's deep, and it's a paradigm shift when you look at it because it's like, oh, I'm not African. We didn't come from Africa. Like, okay, but who are you as black people? What is it?
Where
Who
are you
are
from?
you? What do you have to? You look like a lot of people in Africa. If you didn't come from there, then what's the relation? Who are these people that look like me? You know what I mean? You go to them other nations and you see, okay, we different. We came from somewhere. But you go to Africa, they say we all got a twin over there.
True,
And I definitely believe it.
true
I
that.
definitely believe it. Hang on, I lost my page.
Oh,
Let me get back to it real
one
quick.
quick thing I wanted to mention. The reason I was asking my daughter if she heard this, we walked to the store earlier, picked up a couple of little groceries, and we were talking about how we are grocery shopping. We like almost spend no money on groceries, right? And we were saying that it's because we eat so different than like the average American could not imagine surviving a week off of what we could survive a week off of. And we were laughing and we were like, it's because we really only eat one meal a day. Like we eat one meal a day, like typically in the late afternoon, we'll have a meal. And it's like a starch, some vegetables, some fruit, an apple, you know what I mean? And we were laughing about how we eat like bush people or something. Like we don't really eat like Americans. But then for him to just say, and I said to her, I said, yeah, Americans would look at us and be like, oh my God, y'all are starving. But then they also look at me and they're like, you're 50? You got a 30-year-old daughter? You got 4 grandkids? I mean, first of all, black folks, we look amazing as it is. But I mean, like people see me, they assume I'm, 20 something, barely 30, and not just my face and my complexion, but like my whole self. I'm energetic. I'm strong. I have a very youthfulness to me. I don't take any prescription medicines for anything, It's unheard of for a 50-year-old American woman that I prescription medicine, like, no, And we're just talking about that. It's the way that we eat that is different, which is why we're different. And so for him to just mention that, I'm like,
That's
like
it.
after she heard that, because we literally just had that conversation.
That's legit.
So
Well
yeah, but
said.
Hold on, give us another 5 minutes, brother. Maybe we can finish up before we get to the next question. I don't know. It's up to you.
I got you. That's good.
Welcome to the room,
Black Roots.
by the way, Selena, if you're still here. Thanks for joining.
Most definitely. Most definitely. Black Roots. I like the way you break everything down so that others may understand in depth. Please keep up the good work. Peace. I love that too, honestly.
Yeah.
Part two. Ancient knowledge was divided into 7 major parts. Then the 7 were each divided into 7,000 parts, each one corresponding to 1 year of the 7,000-year lifespan. That made a total of 49,000 subjects of learning. Therefore, there were a total of 49,000 rituals. The vast majority of them are so-called minor rituals and were performed differently in every town. Second are the major rituals, fewer in number and performed differently in every clan according to the chief's teachings. The third type are 7 in number and were performed exactly the same in every tribe. They are called the 7 great rituals or festivals of the Black nation. Hence, the ancient circle had 49,000 divisions as opposed to the modern 360 degrees. That's
deep, right?
that's it's all right there. The numbers and like what we hear, like that's crazy. Numerology, the numbers are insane. Like I like numbers, but when I kind of get to looking at this, it's like, oh my goodness, it just start twisting my mind.
Wow.
Yakub took 33 degrees of knowledge out of the 360 degrees and established mystery or initiation temples to teach them to the leaders of the light races. In addition, he took 3 more degrees and added them to the 33 for a total of 36 and taught these to highly qualified individuals who passed the standards of selection he set up. These 36 degrees of knowledge became the science of all the highest secret societies of the light races. They had their foundation in the temple schools of ancient Egypt. Selected individuals, temple schools, the separation of church and state. It's in everything. That's crazy. They were temple schools, and we have a separation. That's insane.
Like, how do you separate them? How do you separate knowledge from truth? Like,
that's fire. That's fire. How do you separate knowledge from truth? That's fire. Where my spot go? They had their foundation in the temple schools of ancient Egypt. Selected individuals of the light races were recruited from around the world to the mystery schools and taught. They then went back and started secret societies, a few of which still exist to this day. In Egypt, the 36 truths of Yakub became known as the 36 Neters. The word Neter means truth and has been misinterpreted by Egyptologists to mean God. The original 360 degrees of knowledge formulated by Yakub were taught in even deeper secret among the high priests of that time, all of whom were black. This knowledge was withheld from the Neter mystery schools. The high priests migrated down into Africa when it became obvious that the decline of Egypt was inevitable. They took with them the original 360 degrees of knowledge and settled among 10 African tribes located across the entire African continent. These became the foundation of the 10 African schools of ritual initiation, as well as 2 others located outside Africa, which are practiced the same way to this day at this time. The knowledge of the 36 Neters filtered down into the various African tribes when the priests began migrating out of Egypt into West, East, Central, and Southern Africa. It was from the science of these 36 Neters that all the tribal religious systems of Africa originated. So in Africa today, there are 2 types of schools of initiation: those of the original 360 degrees and those of the 36 degrees or Neters. And to that, the 33 degree mystery schools that exists all over the world, especially among the light races, and that will give you an idea of the origin of the mystery or secret religions of the world. We'll go ahead and read. I'll read this last little segment, and then we'll. Now, each secret religion is different. Hence, there is Vodun, or the religion of the goddess Mamiwata, mummy water, or the mermaid goddess. It arose primarily out of reverence for water as sustenance of life. So too did every religion have its primary god or goddess, as well as many lesser deities and all their symbols.
Wow. Rich. I got plenty.
Yeah, real quick, I peeped that I was kind of looking into Native Americans one day, and it was a tribe down in Louisiana. They were pretty tight. They said when the Spanish came, one of the chiefs he stuck his staff, and they got like a shell beach. They don't have sand; it's a shell beach. He said he stuck his staff down in the beach and said that they will not enter here. He didn't even know who they was. He saw that boat and said it ain't happening, but. I forget the native name, but it translated to the people of many waters, because they were down, in the bayou areas. They got like the swamplands. They're close to the ocean. It's like a great lake. So all of those waters were home, and they called themselves the people of many waters. And quite naturally, all of their deities and everything found their way through the water. They said that it was a ball of light that would come up out that water, and it would dance around like on top of the water. The tribe, spoke about it all the time. They saw it, and that's just what it was. So, but I was listening about another tribe. They were somewhere around Canada. They lived in the rocks, mountainy, rocky lands, but God was in the rocks. You know what I mean? The mountainside provides all, and just everywhere that you found there you found God as well. And whatever all they deities come from what they, where they were. So it's amazing to just see that correlation and understand why. Because some of them native stories, it's like, what? Some of their creation stories and how they think they got there is like, yo, a great eagle flew from the sky with back, and you get all the stories, you know what I mean? They came up out the water with no legs and grew legs. So it's just
right?
It all ties together.
When you have these creative beings in our state, and then you have these defilements of us teaching these alternative to college and this and that, you know what I mean? That's like yeah, you can have started as a little teacher, and then
I got a little bit of trouble hearing you. I'm not sure if it's.
Don't worry about it. It's not. You got to get out of here anyway. You got to get there again. So I thank you. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing your power. I appreciate it. Listen, guys, thanks for joining. You have been watching Black Light Statements. Brothers. The text we're reading from is available at thegreatinvestigation.com. This is the Black Roots Science. Tomorrow morning, if you join us at 9 a.m., we'll be reading from the Holy Megalith, which is also available at the greatinvestigation.com. Both of them are available for sale there or for free download. Okay, do get your hands on a copy, and if you're brave, dive in and study. And if you're really brave, get on with us either 9 a.m. for the Holy Megalith or 9 p.m. These are Eastern Standard Time for the Black Root Science. And if you've got your text with you, we invite you to please read. I also do want to invite you guys to go to Amazon and check out my latest book, entitled 107 Days in the Slammer, A Tale of Grave Injustice. It is some excerpts from my journal that I kept. Some of you know that I was recently wrongfully incarcerated for 107 days. And I kept a journal while I was there. And so I've published some of the excerpts from my journal. There will be a book 2 and 3 that'll come out that'll complete the journal. That first book just chronicles the first week when I was on a fast and praying. And so it is what it is. Do check it out. It's only $7. You can read it for free on Kindle, though, for those of you that want to read it and don't really want to spend the $7. But come on, dude, spend the $7. It ain't gonna hurt you. It's like a cup of coffee at Starbucks or something. But anyway, listen, if you want to ascend and you want to elevate and you want to be enlightened and you want to do all these things, all you have to do is be, okay? You were created perfectly for the job that you came here to do, and you signed up for it. We just learned you signed up for it. So you may as well lock in or tap in, as they say, and figure out what you came here to do so you can get her done, you know. But we really appreciate you guys tuning in and studying with us, man. You know, you're so beautiful. You all are so beautiful. I really appreciate your presence and your time. And this has been a Black Enlightenment production. These videos are available on Facebook for watching later or on YouTube. Black Enlightenment is a YouTube channel. And my TikTok is Empress Jedi, because the Jedi Hepzibah one that had all those thousands and thousands of followers and hundreds of videos is no more. So we're starting from scratch. We've got like less than 200 followers and like probably less than 100 videos over there. So it's a baby TikTok at this point, but it's still kind of fire, you know. So do check that out. And with that, guys, let's call that a show. May the Most High be glorified, magnified, and praised in all you think, do, and say. May your dreams be sweet. May you walk with the ancestors and get a little view of who you really are as you sleep tonight. With that, guys, I'm signing out. It's your girl, Jedi. Tevin, you want to give us a peace out?
Oh, it's just all love, y'all. I'm just happy to be here. You know, I just want the people to get the value in every way possible so that we can continue on our grand rising. So much love to y'all, and I'll see y'all on the next one.
Yeah. Shalom.